Continuing with the series of the new server project, part 11 will cover from day 42 to 50. Starting on day 42, I wanted to continue hunting in the old fortress, but this day I was also testing with a different setup. I am an arrow key player, which has never been an issue as a knight, but when playing this mage, my wrist hurts after a bit of hunting, so I tried changing to double ASD, which is more common nowadays. It was going alright, but I probably should have tried on a different spawn, because this is still slightly hard, and I ended up making a mistake and dying after 35 minutes of hunting. During this, I actually didn't feel much of an improvement, and having died like that, I ended up reverting to arrow keys and trying different placements of my arms instead. After getting blessings, I went back. This time -1 was available, so I got my level back, plus one more and logged out. For the next day, it was right before double. I still play like normal, hunting in the Were Cave of Edren and getting to 173, and then since I hunt before server save, I came back after a break and used more of my green stamina with the double experience active, ending the day at 174. During the entire double, I only hunted the Were Cave, alternating between -1 and -2 depending on which was available at the time. As I have said before, both are very similar on experience, but -1 is slightly better. On the first day of double, I hunted the 3 hours of green stam, going from 174 to 181. On the second day, I went from 181 to 186 with 1 death. It was a bit unlucky as I bounced off an invisible werefox and the monsters got too close. It was my mistake, and since it's double, I didn't care much for XP loss, so I got the blessings and continued hunting, once again playing almost the 3 hours of green. And on the last day of double, I went from 186 to 191, hunting for about 2 hours and a half, and ended the double with 18 levels gained. The day after, there was going to be an Inquisition Quest service, so I started doing the missions. From the start to the last mission took me around 40 minutes, so keep that in mind and try to start the missions with a minimum of 1 hour before the quest service starts. The quest ended up being more of a self-service, with everyone helping clear the monsters, so it went pretty quick. 25 minutes in and we were at the last seal. However, a smaller group was left behind because they got there late and they were having issues clearing the quest by themselves, so some of the main team went back to help and that took us another 20 minutes. But despite that, everything went well and the quest was done in less than 1 hour. Once the quest was over, I went for my reward and picked the Spellbook of Dark Mysteries, which was an upgrade I should have done much earlier, but the cost of the spellbook was over 1kk or around 100 TC. So I just kept waiting until I did the quest myself, which is the same case for the Yalahari mask, which I haven't been able to find a team at the times I play, and I really don't want to buy it off the market. Anyways, moving on, there was a group looking for a sorcerer to team hunt reapers, which I wanted to try myself, so I tagged along. Before this hunt, I made another upgrade, which was getting the Sap Strength spell, which is an AoE debuff that reduces the damage done by creatures for 10% and can be bought at level 175 for 200k. I didn't have it before because I barely do team hunts and it's not as good for solo hunting, at least for this level range, but it is a must have for team hunts, so I got it for that. This spawn is located in POH and it was hard for the EK to tank at level 209. I don't even know if he was using defensive praise, but I don't think he was. Regardless, everyone did well and the hunts were fine. The raw XP was of around 1.7 to 1.9kk, so about 1.8kk in average, which was around 50% more of what I could do solo at this level. But the main issue with team hunting is that since our levels are low, the supplies we can carry are also low. The druid will run out of supplies in 30 minutes, so we had to go out and refill every 30 minutes. And sometimes it will be 10 minutes in between each hunt, so overall it's less time efficient than just going solo for less XP, which is what I thought before and this just proved it more. Anyways, I did around 4 hunts with them and stopped at level 194. Just like my last team hunt at Geysers, I didn't get paid any profit, but my waste was paid, so it's not a big deal. The profit would have been around 25k each, and that doesn't account for imbuements the knight might have used. I personally still don't use imbuements and don't plan on using them soon, because tier 3 are very expensive at the moment, and getting tier 2 is not cost efficient either. Moving on day 49, I wanted to try new spawns since I have better levels. First I went to Oramond, My main goal was to try the Hydra and Bog Raider cave, since I would like to be able to do the task for Hydras, but on my way in, I saw that the raid of Quarter Skulls was active on the surface, so I ended up trying that instead. However, 10 minutes in, and before I even started recording, the raid disappeared. Up until then, it was going alright, but I don't know what the average speed will be. But I was also curious of trying Oramon West without the query array, so I went back to refill and came back prepared to test it out. The raw XP I did was of a bit under 1.1 kk. Keep in mind I wasn't going super hard and stopping to loot is what decreases the experience here. However, it was still a good XP despite my way of hunting, but it was also around 120k of waste the hour, which is definitely pretty high. While the quarter array was active at the start, my waste was much less, so I'm looking forward to try that when the raid appears again. But now that my test of Oramon West was done, I refill once again. Now to go ahead and try the Hydra cave. This spawn ended up being easier than I thought, so my level recommendation is of around the level 150, but that doesn't mean the spawn was good. The raw experience was of 720k in average, and this is only possible by a sorcerer, since I was using waves a lot. A druid will struggle a lot more to hunt with just runes, not to mention that it's a bit annoying to hunt with the amount of paralyze. But regardless, one positive thing about it is that the creature distribution is even for Hydras and Bog Riders, so it will take around 4 hours of hunting to get the bestiary for both creatures. After that hunt, I stopped for the day only getting 1 level. The next day, I continued trying spawns. The first on the list was the Medusa Cave of Talahu. Since I had access to the Bombees Island, it took me 3 minutes to unlock access to Talahu and then get to the spawn. The spawn was easy to hunt and pretty chill overall. It's hard to do big lures and can easily be avoided, so I was doing mostly 2 monsters per pool and hunting with waves and SDs. Doing it like this, the raw experience was around the 750 to 800k, which is not good enough if you want XP, but this spawn is better for profit. This will be depending on luck most of the times, but at the end of the 50-minute hunt, I had 35k of waste in the analyzer, but the snake skin goes for around 2k, and the strands of Medusa hair are going for 8k, so that's almost 100k there, which would put me at a positive balance. These items don't sell for that much on normal servers, but the Medusa hairs are always on demand, so it's still normal to profit here. Another thing is this spawn is great for tasking Medusa and also working on serpent spawns. But moving on, since I had a prey of serpent spawns, I went to try another place. This time I went to Banura. This was harder to hunt because I was using waves often, but here is more common to lure more than 3 monsters at a time. So I had to be careful and I had some scary combos, but not enough for a low HP screenshot. Regardless, the hunt went fine and the raw experience was on the 900k on average. But once again, this is only for a sorcerer. Without waving, I know the experience will be lower. After this hunt and only getting 1 level, I ended at level 196. And that is all I have done since the last video. I went from level 169 to 196. From magic level 72 to 75, spending 336 Tibia coins in mana cask and buying back 225, leaving me at 111 TCs of waste. Like I mentioned before, the coins have been going up on price, going from 8.5 to 9.5, and also for most of my hunts I end up wasting, even if not much. That's all I got for this video. Thank you for watching and a special thanks to the supporters of the channel, Tuna Hero, Dorothy Slasher, and Drunken Watson. Until next time.